Leadership Power Applications Energize Your Intellectual Capital. Hello, and welcome to this episode of Leadership Power Paradigms. This is Bill Thomas, your host and presenter for today's episode. If you give me just a few moments here, we've changed a few things here in our platform, and because we have, of course, we're not quite sure what's happening and where and who's in charge and why and anything else associated with it. So please forgive me for my, um, I can only call it a sense of confusion that I'm having with this. But we've been on for about a minute, and I can send that up and do one more thing. And as soon as I do that, I'll, over these last few weeks, I've had the privilege of having been able, over the last, oh, geez, since January, I've been doing these weekly uh, webinars. And during that time, we've developed a routine for setting up each webinar session and episode. And of course, everything has changed dramatically since we did our last week's Friday episode. So I'm a little confused as to whether or not I'm on first or whether I'm on third base at this point in time. But we're going to begin. I'm going to begin my script in just a quick moment here. So if you bear with me. Okay, and this is mainly for the people who are on the replay recording because I'll have to edit this, all of this confusion that I've gotten myself into. Anyway, okay, so let's see. Where's okay? That's good. We can start the screen share there. And let me expand that. And I think that's pretty much it. Okay. Welcome, everybody, to this episode of Leadership Power Paradigms. This is Bill Thomas, your host and presenter for today's episode. And for the next 14 or so minutes, we will learn why leaders must explore, pursue, and capture every asset of their intellectual capital if they wish to reach the promised lands of success. Perhaps you have perceived and taken notice of the fact that God Himself says that He is doing something new for the people of Israel and others. But before they can own or even take advantage of and make use of that new thing, they are told they were told that He expects them to take a journey, learn, and a new or different way of pursuing the promises that God has for them. God even suggests that for Israel to be in a position to perceive, acquire knowledge about, or become acquainted and knowledgeable about God's new thing, the people of Israel and others will have to be fed with and watered by the sustenance of abundant hope, faithful living, and their full appreciation of God's true nature and way of being. So, what can explorations help your leadership power to pursue? You could take an ontological journey, like this map recommends, by answering the questions about the roles you and your people need to perform, or evaluating the willingness of your team to pursue the ideas and the ideal aspirations of your strategy, vision, or mission statements. You will form, help, communicate, and strengthen the identities and commitments of your partners or stakeholders, and improve the possibilities for successful achievement of your goals and desires. Because, as author Warren Berger writes in his Harvard Business Review article, about why today's C-level executives need to be very curious, Berger quotes Walt Disney, the founder and CEO of the Disney Company, who told people that his company managed to keep innovating because we're curious, and curiosity keeps leading us down new paths. But having that desire to keep exploring new paths becomes even more important in today's fast changing, innovation driven marketplace. The folks at this website have a model of 15 different types of intellectual capital. The vast majority of that capital is at significant risk because it's not actually owned by the company. Like those digital ones and zeros, it can disappear at any time for any number of reasons, for such as price pressures due to offshoring or disruptive technologies like cognitive computing, or people just plain up and quitting. And Dr. Art Murray explains that at least 80% of your organization's total value is made up of these intangible assets. Dr. Murray advises leaders to create a balance sheet of their intellectual capital assets. He says you should use the IC categories listed on that website and then estimate the value of each asset by assigning a monetary value to it, along along with assigning any other value that's important to your company or industry, such as that intangible assets contributions to society, sustainability, or strategic growth. Dr. Murray suggests that leaders also assess the value of their own personal intellectual capital assets. You would be surprised by the amount of hidden wealth you and your key people possess. The real value of your enterprise and the potential ability of your organization to stay ahead of the competition and competently respond to a wildly changing marketplace. Dr. Murray and other experts agree that money itself is becoming less stable. Tangible asset values are falling, and large portions of an organization's intellectual capital are at risk. That's three strikes, and we're in the late innings of our decades long transition to a knowledge based economy. Despite the clear and present danger of ever increasing risk exposure, it's astonishing how few organizations have even bothered to take inventory of those intangible assets. Yet, on the tangible side, every PC, peripheral, like printers and modems and other things, and smartphone, every desk is tagged and tracked in a database. But what about those hundreds of billions of dollars of intangible assets? In most cases, they're lumped into a few line items and perhaps a half page of footnotes in a financial statement. You would think, with so much riding on this particular class of asset, that companies would pay more attention. Leaders can use their abilities, skills, competencies, talents, strengths, and insights or understandings to assess or evaluate the level of risks for their four types of intellectual capital. That is, the four clusters of human, structural, customer, and strategic alliance capital assets. The website and that page says applied knowledge management comprises a range of strategies and practices used in your organization to identify, create, represent, distribute, and enable sharing and adoption of insights and experiences to retain intellectual capital in an organization and to adapt that intellectual capital to changing environments and markets. Most knowledge management systems only store knowledge and don't bother about capturing and making the captured knowledge reusable. Using the domains of human capital, leaders can quickly and effectively discover where their captured intellectual capital has the highest potential for becoming structured and where the risk of loss, compromise, or control of that intellectual capital can be reduced or eliminated. If the purposes and meanings of your leadership power applications were designed to serve the performances, innovative developments, and wealth generating potentials of the employees and other stakeholders in your organization, then what should your service offerings and tangible products be? I mean, shouldn't your leadership services enable the organization to achieve clearly defined goals? Shouldn't your leadership coach, train, and support the development of your intellectual capital, employee insights, and organizational experiences? Shouldn't your leadership activities help your people to capture and store their knowledge and make their know how reusable for others as they go about their work of creating better or improved services, products, and customer value propositions? Leaders can use their agency of signification to enrich, empower, experiment with, engage, and encourage their employees, stakeholders, and strategic alliance or vendor partnerships to improve the quality of their intellectual capital, increase the value of those intangible assets, and influence the expansion of their experiential learnings. Those five occupations of your leadership agency that we saw on the last slide, the enrichments, encouragements, empowerments, experiments, and engagements with your people, those occupations are designed to help your leadership power applications build empathy for the points of view of other people, display commitment to your ideals and stakeholder insights, impact a sense of meaning for your policies and processes, and inspire trust in your intentions and integrity. Imagine if you could locate, unlock, and capture the intellectual capital assets of these three traits. You could identify then then find ways of organizing, processing, and then structuring the abilities, skills, and knowledge artifacts needed to generate strategic insights at will. You would know what techniques and strategies you need to teach, coach, and consult with your people to help them access and strengthen their most creative selves. Your explorations should have revealed the intuitive templates, technologies, and interpretative tools required to enhance the artistic flair of every mission critical task, delivery of superior services, and innovative developments that fuels your organizational growth and successes. Simply stated, if your leadership actions are focused upon fulfilling one or more of these three purposes, then your leadership is guaranteed to achieve your desired results. If you examine the strategies, processes, techniques, and tools that you use to achieve these purposes, you will be well on your way to identifying the core assets of your own personal intellectual capital. The true purpose for your own personal intellectual capital assets is to generate goods and profits for the benefit of your organization, stakeholder communities, and society in general. As you process the raw materials of the various organizational experiences, research studies, and interviews, and any observed patterns or recorded trends you encounter, the value of your analytical, emotional, spiritual, and systems intelligence will expand the human, structural, customer, and strategic alliance capital and enable you to create purposeful, profitable, and productive structures of intellectual capital assets. You need beneficial streams of information to energize and supply energy to your interpretations, intuitions, and innovations. That's the primary purpose for assessing, evaluating, and rating and structuring all four types of your intellectual capital assets. Tabulating a balance sheet and accounting for the intangible assets of your organization and your own intellectual capital will provide you with the insights and understanding that you need to rank each asset from low to through to high based upon its risk of loss, compromise, or control. Because you will see an intellectual capital asset in terms of its vulnerability or possible loss, you will be better positioned to find ways to instantiate, capture, and structure whatever value that you can from those precious assets. This ends today's lesson. You are looking at the catalog of materials, training, and coaching support, which are featured in my Leadership Power Paradigms Producer Tools program. You can see that this program is designed to dramatically improve your leadership performances and use your leadership strengths to comprehensively empower the achievements of your people. Right now, this program is available to you at my lowest possible price, so I urge you to visit the webpage that you see right in the middle of the slide, which is www.one-im.com/LPP-tools, or just simply click on the Enroll and Get Started Now button that is on the right side of your screen. And when you do click on the Enroll and Get Started Now button on the right side of your screen, it will open up a new browser tab or new browser window for you, so you won't lose your place here in the webinar. And if you like what you read on that page, just go ahead and get going now. Don't forget that I always offer my famous no questions asked, no risk to you, money back guarantee for this program, so you really have nothing to lose by enrolling now in this awesome educational experience. And as you're typing in the URL that you see on the uh, slide here, or if you have clicked on the Enroll and Get Started Now button that's on the right side of your screen, if you're on the webinar replay or even on the live webinar, um, I'll well, as you're doing that, I'm going to run back to my control panel. Okay, yeah, there it is. Well, actually, that's not my control panel anymore, is it? So excuse me for a moment. And okay, there's my control panel. And I can send you the links to the two bonus gifts that I have for you to thank you for attending today's episode of Leadership Power Paradigms. Um, and if you're attending it on the webinar replay, you'll still see the two links there anyway, so no worries there. And the first bonus gift that I have for you is um, the first gift is the 5 Uplifter Task infographic. It is a PDF document. It fits on one sheet of paper, and just download that and then uh, print it out and put that one sheet of paper on your desk or on a wall or something that you can look at from as you go through your day as a leader. And those are the 5 essential tasks that leaders have to perform. So if you're performing one or more of those tasks in each of your leadership actions, then you're sure to be far more effective. And if you're not doing one or more of those five tasks, then the chances are that your leadership action may not be as effective and give you the results that you desired. So that's like a little tool, a little reminder, almost a cheat sheet, but it's done in infographic style. So it makes it a little more interesting. And like I said, it is a PDF document and it fits on one sheet of paper, so that's not a problem. And then the other bonus gift that I have for you is the 8-page Words with Wisdom paper. That also is a PDF document, and that one you can download and then print it out and use the strategies and tips and techniques that some of which that we covered today in today's episode of Leadership Power Paradigms, and others that we've covered in previous episodes of Leadership Power Paradigms. So you can use that as sort of a resource, if you will, and it will help you to how shall I say, sharpen and improve your leadership performances. That's the whole design of it. It's got nuggets of wisdom and strategies and techniques and principles that every leader needs to fully understand and apply in their throughout their day. So, okay, those are the two bonus gifts. And as I said, yeah, and nobody came live to this because by the time I got started, I was definitely behind my schedule. And as time goes on, I suspect I'll be able to master the changes that they've made in the platform. So I apologize for that. If you happen to be watching us on, well, anyway, doesn't matter, on the replay recording. Also, on the replay recording, for those of you who do see it, I urge you and encourage you to send me your questions. All you need to do is just type in your question in the question box that you see on the right side of the screen and press the email now or email us or whatever the button says. They keep changing that too. But when you press that button, it will send whatever you typed in the box to me directly by email. It will also include your name and your email address, so you don't have to type that in, okay? Because you had to use your name and your email address to register for the replay recording as well as for the live recordings. We know who you are, so as soon as you press that button, it'll say, "Oh, okay, that's you, and this is your address, and this is your question, which you type in." That's all you need to type in is just your question, okay, or your comment. And it can have anything to do with leadership or management as well. So, and then I always respond to those questions or comments, and I try to give you as full and complete an answer as I possibly can. So that's a good way to get a little free guidance, a little free advice, if you will. Okay, so with all of that said, I want to thank you for joining us in today's episode of Leadership Power Paradigms. I'm Bill Thomas. I was your host and presenter for today's episode. God bless each and every one of you. Godspeed to you all, and I wish you all the very best of success in all of your leadership endeavors. Take care.